Says we are streaming on YouTube.
Okay, we're live.
Thank you, Lisa. I'd like to call to order the special luxury tax committee meeting for August 18th. The time is 6:02. Lisa, could you take roll for us?
Yes. Commissioner Trope,
Present.
Commissioner Owens,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Curran.
Here.
We also have myself and Deputy Clerk Holm with us today.
Okay, so we have a single agenda item. We'll, Lisa, if you go ahead and share that agenda item. A little background, you can imagine because of the COVID situation in our community, the 4th of July festival, the Freedom Festival was canceled this year. So at this time, we need to evaluate what we're going to do with those monies. And a proposal has been put forward to create a celebration of lights, similar to what happens over in, let's see, I'm trying to find that. It's in Idaho and
Caldwell.
in Caldwell, Idaho. Did any of you guys get a chance to look at this?
No, I did not.
So Steve, do you know everybody here? Have you met?
Yeah, I've met everybody. Yes.
Okay, good.
At some point, it's been a while, and this is a strange venue, so but it's nice to see everyone.
Anybody else know everybody else, sort of? Enough? Okay. Good. So you're seeing some pictures of this lights festival they do there. So one of the things we're thinking this year is to start that tradition. And hopefully next year becomes a more normal year and we'll be able to fund and do more activities in our community. This past year we did the parade. Lisa, I assume this would be sort of in conjunction with that? Okay. So any thoughts or questions about?
Sorry, I can't
escape it.
can't let you hear me without the noise from that unless I pause it. Yes, this year it would more or less take the place of Winterfest. And then hopefully in future years, as we grow this, it will become in conjunction with Winterfest being the opening day and then the lights continuing through mid-January.
Do we have any questions about what it is that we're being asked to evaluate here?
I have a question. Is there a detailed budget as to what can be purchased with this $6,000 that we would reallocate? I saw the initial budget for the Freedom Festival, but I didn't really see one to fully understand what this would purchase exactly.
Let me pull that up for you.
Okay. I must have overlooked it.
No, I may not have
Shared it.
included it. Let me see.
Lisa, I have the cost analysis up. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, do you want to share that, please?
Yeah, I will. So you can go ahead, Lisa.
Nope, go for it. You're the one that planned it out. I'll let you.
So the Light Up the Avenue presentation that's in the packet just tells a little bit of detail about what each of these items look like. But we've started looking at it in phases. And the first phase would be purchasing a variety of snowflakes, which would be option A in the cost analysis that's on the screen. If we purchase these by August 31st, we get a 20% discount, which lowers it considerably. And so I'm trying to get sponsors to also sponsor. So far we've had Community Bank sponsor and Pacific Power, and I'm working with Columbia REA. I'm working with P1FCU and Honda, and there's a couple more to see what else is going to roll in. It's just really unknown at this point in time what else will roll in. But so far we have $3,000 committed from the sponsors, and then hoping we can get the funds from the this board to be able to, along with the city's funds transferring from the budget that we had from Freedom Festival, right, Lisa?
Yes.
And then a portion from Winterfest, because we're not putting that on.
And movies in the park.
What's that?
And movies in the park.
And movies in the park. And with all of those, we would be able to get phase 1, option A, phase 2, and phase 3. That quote that we received with the 20% off to purchase by August 31st is around 16,000. So we have another option if we do get more funds that come in. That's in phase 4. What's in there is a lot of examples. Some of them are really expensive, but there's a lot of different light displays that we could use that are not as expensive, that would be very universal for the holidays, that would look really, really nice. And so as Lisa said, this is a start. And each year it would be really, really nice to be able to add light displays each year so that College Place could soon become, after a couple of years, something to what's similar in Caldwell. And then when Lions Park gets the renovation completed, we'll have more power outlets and the electricity will be there to be able to light up the trees, have light displays there, and just make it amazing and make College Place a destination for people to go during the holidays.
So this will be in the park then?
Well, not to start with, because it's not renovated and there's not enough power to be able to power the lighting the trees and everything. So we chose to start lighting up the avenue first with the snowflakes, and that would be for 22 lights, 2 lights at each intersection from 13th on College Avenue to Rose. So that's kind of what we chose to start.
We're going to start with College Avenue and the municipal campus. And then when the renovation of Lions Park is done, it will be done with the thoughts in mind that we need power to support something of this nature integrated into the infrastructure there. And so just the plan is to just put some money aside each year and get sponsorships each year, because what we're spending this year is going to be usable for many years down the road. And so if we add to it each year, then it can just grow and grow and grow. And then once we're allowed to have Winterfest again, we would kick it off with the Winterfest event, the parade, and do the light up of everything at that time. And then the lights would stay on through the season.
So can you review the action that we have today is to reallocate from Freedom Festival and the other things that we're not doing to reallocate those luxury tax dollars to this? Can you review
Lodging
that?
tax.
Lodging. I always do that.
That's okay. Yeah. Basically, there was some guidance put out by MRSC, the Municipal Research Services Company or Corporation, that basically tells us, because this is not just happening to us, this is happening to cities all across the state, all across the country. But in the state of Washington, these dollars are specifically allocated by this board and then by the council to specific events. So they gave us guidance on how we go about transferring those to something that we actually can do, so that we can still afford to provide some sort of community event, tourist, something to bring people in safely. And this is what we were kind of thinking, we aren't going to be able to do the parade and the big gathering at the fire station. What can we do where people can enjoy something but still be safe, so they can be in their own vehicles driving down through the lights? And then later, once we once we can have those gatherings, then we can just, it's something that we can still incorporate. So it's not like we're losing out on something. So
Is there, you're talking about, creating an event without actually having an event. It's a decorating effort.
we're creating a destination.
Yeah, it's holiday decorations on steroids, basically, pardon the expression, but is there any part of the budget or any need for, you talked about keeping people safe, any safety measures or information or guidelines for people to follow? I mean, I don't think everyone's going to stay in their car and just drive down the street. So just curious if that has been discussed at all.
Well, yeah, and it'll just depend on what level we're at when it comes to
Yeah.
December.
Yeah.
And so, but the lodging tax funds that were allocated for the Freedom Festival was 4,000 for the event and 2,000 towards advertising.
Mhm.
And so we will still use that 2,000 towards the advertising for whatever options we have at that time.
Right.
So
Okay.
that will still be used as an advertising campaign. Specifics will be determined based upon what level of socialization we're allowed.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
My recollection is that there's usually some kind of a newspaper post, I know, about bidding. Was there any bids, or is this just an internal change?
This has nothing to do with this is just a change from what we did last year.
Mhm.
You guys will we're still going to do the bids and still going to have our meeting in November regarding what we're allocating for budget funds for 2021.
Mhm.
This is just a request to change the allocation for 2020.
Got it.
Other questions?
Do you want to see have you guys looked at that's not the right document. The Light Up the Avenue presentation kind of, so these are kind of examples of the snowflakes, 2 per intersection, all the way down College Avenue. These are what would be on the light poles on the municipal campus. And then all the shrubbery on the municipal campus, trees and bushes, that sort of thing, we would light up with like net lights and things appropriate for that. And then we're looking at some sort of, depending on the funding that we get, this portion, the municipal campus front lawn, is not included in the plan for what we have funding for right now. It will depend on what kind of funding we receive from additional sponsors down the road.
The reader board is though.
Yes, the bow on the reader board is included in the funding that we have planned, provided you guys agree to reallocate these funds. And if not, then we'll scale things back to what we can do.
Any further questions?
So the Lions Park would be later, but that's a start of the idea.
I do have a comment about the allocation of the 2,000 towards advertising. I wonder if it's wise, given COVID, to try to encourage people to come from elsewhere here for an event such as this. I understand why for the community, for everyone here, this would be a needed break from one's house, especially in the winter. But, I do have a little concern in terms of public health and the ethics of that, but
We could certainly take that into consideration.
I think there's an option here. We've lived in I have lived in other communities where they kind of do this unofficial parade of lights. And I think we even do that here. You'll see some residents in the valley, I'll say, go whole hog for Christmas, and people drive through there. I think in the advertising, if we, gave direction on how to enjoy this exhibit, plus anything else that is part of the holiday, I think we could probably cover that.
yeah, my concern is not having people here for that, but that if people come here and lodge, right? Like that's the point of the funding is to encourage people to come and visit our community. I'm a little unnerved by that. Not actually engaging in the activity that I have virtually no concern about, given that it's drive-by.
Interesting point.
Yeah, I would agree.
So I don't know if there's a way to shift those funds towards actual purchasing of product that I have less concern about.
Would targeting the advertising purely locally for our community?
You guys do have the ability to allocate the funds. If you want less spent on marketing and more spent on supplies, equipment, we can do that. I think with the intention that in future years we would be driving tourists to the place. You're more aware of that than I am, Steve. What do you think?
No, I agree with Charisse, is that it feels like we're putting on an event without calling it that. If we continue to go ahead and advertise outside the area for it, people are gonna, like you said, it's a destination event. We're just not having a parade, and we're not having the Winterfest part of it, but we're asking people to come here.
If we restricted the advertising to local instruction on how to safely enjoy the lights.
Yeah, I think that would be a step in the right direction. It's unfortunate the situation we're in, but the fact that we're having this meeting suggests.
If I may, I think what we're trying to do is continue to invest in our community. The expectation is that the lodging tax revenues in the future are going to allow us to do more things to promote our community. I think there's great things going on in our community. I think you'd be hard put to find a community that has done as well in COVID as we have from a business standpoint. I'm certainly not going to talk about infection, but we've been able to meet all our budget obligations. I think our tax situation is still in good shape. So the community is, I think, at a point where it's warranted to invest in our community.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of the brilliance of this idea, is that this is a step towards building on something that we can keep doing later in its full form. Make the investment now when there's really nothing else to invest in.
And that's exactly my point. So
a little bit like what Walla Walla has done downtown.
Right.
And that's why I would advocate that we invest in the actual lights, because this may not be a year for tourism. I assume that there's a set amount of money you can use to advertise locally that's useful, and beyond that, it's just kind of excessive. And I don't know what we can actually invest in things we're gonna have year after year. This might be the year for that, instead of inviting more people here than actually currently live here.
Exactly.
So what I hear you guys saying is let's spend the resources available to procure the infrastructure, the hardware. We can display it this year for the people in our community without doing more than maybe a PSA about safe ways to observe this that would be targeted at our local community. Maybe not even involve newspaper advertising at this point, but use a larger percentage of this to buy that hardware than to advertise it. Is that fair? You guys all agree with that?
Yes,
So-
I do, yes.
Let's try for a second, Lisa, what would that motion look like then?
The motion doesn't need to change at all because that hadn't been
Okay,
indicated in there, and staff will just take direction that that is the intent of the committee.
so we've got basically an idea here where we would take the $6,000 in lodging tax funds and direct that towards the purchase of hardware to, I'm going to say seed a long-term event that we hope to create some identity in the community. Is that reasonable for you guys? Is there questions or comments?
I do. The guidelines said that we should rescind the first action in terms of the first, when we delegated the money to the Freedom Festival. And so I wonder if we need to have two motions. So rescinding is down here in the bottom section.
Right.
So I wonder if we need to have a resolution to rescind that money and to reallocate it as a second motion, or at least a two-part motion.
So
You
we
know,
can,
I think that would probably be
Yeah, that's a
wise.
good idea.
Catching that.
okay. So what we're talking about now, let's try an integrated motion. It would be something, a motion to rescind the $6,000 in lodging tax funding appropriation to Freedom Festival and other items that have been canceled due to COVID, and reallocate the purchasing hardware for a new Light Up the City program targeted around Christmas, something like that. I'll leave that to one of you guys to make the motion. Is that, Kristen, do you have any questions? Comments? What do you think?
No, yeah, I'm agreeing with everything. And the questions I did have, Chair has asked, so it's perfect.
Hey, Steve, you cool with that?
I'm good with that. Yeah, thank you.
Therese?
Mhm.
Do we have any other questions or comments that you'd like to make before we move forward? Is there a motion? Would one of you like to make a motion?
I can make it easier for you. I'll make a motion that we rescind the $6,000 initially earmarked for the 2020 Freedom Festival and reallocate it to the 2020 Light Up the Avenue project.
Thank you.
There a second?
Second.
Lisa, did you capture that? You got
I
that?
did, and I
Okay,
have the
great.
recording to help later.
I just wanted to make sure before we go on. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? With no opposed, the motion is carried. And I think that concludes our meeting, right? We have another one in November, which should be interesting because it'll involve budgeting. Do we have any other business to attend to? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Looks like we're adjourned, Lisa. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate your continued support of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Aye.
really appreciate you guys and your thoughtfulness and thinking through it. That really helped. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you.
See you guys later. Have a great day.
All right.